Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, wherever you are in the world. I'm beyond honored to stand before you today because this moment, right here, right now, might just be the turning point in your life. You're here for a reason. Maybe you're searching for something more. Maybe you know you're capable of greatness but feel stuck. Or maybe, just maybe, today is the day you finally stop waiting and start becoming. And that's exactly what we're going to talk about. The title of today's talk is Don't Complain, Take Action. It's an honor to stand before you today, not just as someone who has achieved success, but as someone who has walked a long, challenging, and sometimes painful journey. And I chose this because I know firsthand what it means to face obstacles, to feel like the odds are stacked against you, and to have every reason to complain, but choosing not to. If I had spent my life complaining, I wouldn't be here today. Instead, I learned that action, not excuses, is what changes everything. Let me take you back to my early years. I was born in a small, modest town. My family wasn't wealthy. We didn't have connections to powerful people. My parents worked hard just to make ends meet. As a child, I had one dream: to learn English. I knew it could open doors to the world, but there was one big problem. In my town, there were barely any resources to learn it. No good teachers, no language schools, nothing. I could have complained. I could have said, why don't we have more opportunities? Why wasn't I born in a place where learning English is easier? But instead, I asked myself, what can I do? So every morning for 8 years, I rode my bicycle to the nearest hotel where foreign tourists stayed. I offered to give them free tours of my city in exchange for practicing English with them. Think about that. 8 years of waking up early, rain or shine, just to improve myself. Most people would have given up after a few months, but I didn't. And that one decision, to take action instead of complaining, changed the course of my life. Years later, I finished school and started looking for a job. I sent applications to over 30 different companies, and I was rejected by every single one of them. Even when I applied for a job at KFC, 24 people applied. They hired 23 of them. Guess who was the only person rejected? Mr. At that moment, I could have said, this isn't fair. Why me? Why does this keep happening? But I didn't. Instead, I asked myself, what can I do better? How can I improve? Because complaining might have given me temporary comfort. It might have let me feel like a victim, but it wouldn't have helped me move forward. What I needed was resilience. What I needed was to keep trying. So that's exactly what I did. Building something from nothing. When I finally started my own business, people thought I was crazy. Back then, the internet was practically non-existent in my country. Most people didn't even know what it was, let alone how to build a business with it. And when I told people my vision to create a platform where small businesses could compete on a global scale, they laughed. Even my friends thought it was impossible. But I believed in it. And I was willing to work day and night to make it happen. The early years were brutal. We had no money, no fancy office, no government support. For 3 years, my company made zero profit. Imagine that. 3 years of working every single day with no financial return. We could have easily said, this is too hard, the market isn't ready, it's not fair. But we didn't. Instead of wasting time complaining, we focused on solving problems, one step at a time. And slowly, things began to change. As we started to grow, we faced fierce competition. Giant companies with more money, more employees, and more technology were coming into our space. It would have been so easy to say, this isn't fair. How can we compete with such a massive company? But instead of complaining, we focused on what we could control. We couldn't outspend them, but we could outthink them. We couldn't be bigger, but we could be smarter. And because we adapted, because we refused to complain and instead took action, we won. Over the years, I've learned one powerful lesson. Your attitude determines your altitude. It's easy to have a good attitude when things are going well. It's easy to be positive when everything is working out. But the real test? It's when things go wrong, when life throws challenge after challenge at you. In those moments, You have a choice. You can focus on what's wrong, or you can focus on what you can do. The problem with complaining is that it blinds you. When you're too focused on what's wrong, you can't see what's possible. When you're too focused on the problem, you miss the solutions. I've seen so many people fall into this trap. They complain about the economy, about competition, about not having enough money. But while they're complaining, someone else is out there figuring out a way to succeed. I'm not saying you should ignore problems. I'm saying you should solve them instead of complaining about them. Just because you work hard doesn't mean you'll succeed. Just because you have a great idea doesn't mean people will care. Just because you're a good person doesn't mean life will be fair to you. This is a tough truth, but once you accept it, you become unstoppable. Because instead of waiting for success, you start creating it. Instead of expecting things to change, you change them yourself. So the next time you feel like complaining, stop, take a breath. Then ask yourself, what can I do right now to move forward? Because while others are making excuses, you could be making progress. Your future self is waiting. What are you going to do about it? But knowledge alone won't change your life. Action will. And if you're ready to level up, subscribe for more. Because your future, it starts now. Thank you.